with Jonathan Rifkin, who is across the glass, man. I am ready for this weekend. I don't think it's going to rain. It's going to be beautiful. You have a couple of days until the next storm hits somewhere next week. And it is NFL championship weekend. I am delighted to welcome into the show that's someone that we both know well and call a friend. And that would be Ryan Leaf, who spent this last season as an analyst on national broadcast for the NFL. Ryan, great to see you again. How have you been?
Would you believe that at all 10 years ago?
No, I would not believe that. And I'm going to give you a test.
I don't know if I would have believed that a year ago, to be honest with you.
I'm going to give you a test question right now. Now, a couple of years ago, more than a couple of years ago, but quite a few years ago, when I had a first chance to go ahead and meet you, I said, "Hey, Ryan, I have a great idea. Darren's on vacation, again, and you want to go ahead and come in and host the show, not co-host, host the show." You said yes. Do you remember the first two guests that you booked for your very first show?
I thought we had, I think we had Jay Posner was one guest, and then Jim Harbaugh and Mike Price, I think, are the three that we had.
I thought I was going to say Richard Deitch. Wasn't Richard Deitch on the show?
Maybe. I don't remember that one.
But I'm going to go back and look at it. I have it. I'm going to check the archives.
I thought we had Jim Harbaugh because I remember Jim Harbaugh because we had him on because I was talking to him about going after and getting a kid out of Nevada named Colin Kaepernick.
I remember that. I remember you being very high. You were very high on Colin Kaepernick out of Nevada, but I did want to start there. I know we have playoff matchups to get to, but can you just take me back to your relationship with Jim Harbaugh? Because of course you guys spent time with your years in the Chargers.
And you just saw him, didn't you, last weekend?
Yeah, I saw him on. I was the sideline analyst for the Baltimore Ravens Houston game, so I saw Jim on the sideline, and we hadn't seen each other since I think the Super Bowl a few years back, we just fall back right into place. You got to remember that most people, when they view Jim Harbaugh, it's through the lens of the media and some of his quirkiness and on TV and stuff like that. But I mean, Coach Harbaugh and I spent hours and hours and hours together, whether that was in meeting rooms, on the field, on the golf courses together. We spent a lot of time together. We know each other really well. And so we just kind of fell back into that. And I didn't ask him point blank where he was going or what he was going to do and everything. I just told him that, hey, wherever you land, I don't care if that is Atlanta or LA or back in Ann Arbor. I said, you just better have me out to speak to the team when you do. And he said, deal. That was the deal. So I didn't get it too indulgent in asking where it might be, but I had a sneaky suspicion that Mr. Spanos was going to go grab him. And I think he's going to be a difference maker for this organization.
His resume speaks for itself, but what did you learn most from watching him as a teammate?
How to be a professional. Up to that point, I had not behaved in any way, shape, or form as a professional athlete with the Chargers. And I do feel like who I was the rest of my career, the final part of year 3 there in San Diego, as well as my time in Tampa, Dallas, and ultimately Seattle, I was a professional. And, I think that speaks volumes for who I was behaviorally. Unfortunately, the talent had dissipated with the injury to my wrist. And it doesn't matter how great a guy you are at that point. If you can't play on Sundays in this league, you're not going to be in that league very long. So I credit him with a ton of that in terms of the professional athlete aspect of things and growing up, something that I dearly needed. And clearly it would have been something that I could have used my rookie year when the idea that Warren Moon come in and with Kevin Gilbride that first year and would kind of been a mentor to me. I think that would have gone a long way too, to helping me maybe, but you never know. You can't look back on it anymore and go, this would have changed this, that would have changed that. It is what it is. And we're where we're at right now because of it.
Ryan, before we jump into some of the NFL, the playoff matchups, I do want to ask you about some of the coaching news that we've had. I think you shared a story about Nick Saban reaching out to you after he announced that he was retiring. Could you go ahead and share that story for our listeners?
Well, I mean, I reached out to him, of course, after the announcement happened. Somebody told me a week before, a friend of mine that was close to the organization, to the university, told me that, and he was normally pretty resourceful as a source for me, and he was the guy that told me that Cliff Kingsbury was taking the Arizona job, about a day before that I got to break a few years back. And so I believe him when he talks about this stuff. But when he told me it, I didn't say anything. I didn't believe him. Not one bit after what he was able to do this year, to be honest with you. And so when it broke, I was shocked. So yeah, I sent a message out to him just to first off, thank him because he was the first coach that allowed me into his his mecca, his team room. I don't know how many years I'd been out of prison, but he invited me to come speak to his team, and Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts off his freshman year when they went to a national championship and got beat by Clemson. We're in the front row, and there's Nick Saban, and I spoke to the team. And I tell you right now, there isn't a better reference out there than if Nick Saban is the guy that calls you, because every other coach around the country is looking at what Nick Saban does. Who is he bringing in to speak to his team, to motivate his team? Well, that, of course, was, I think, 6 years ago. And, my dance card's full every year. The first 5 organizations, colleges, football programs that reach out to me each year, I go to, and I stop at that 5. Before, I would keep doing it, but I just need time away from my family, getting ready for the football season. So the first 5 programs that reach out, doesn't matter what size the program is. I've had to tell Dabo one year that I was going to Montana State because they were one of the 5, and I couldn't make it to Clemson. And so that's just the way it goes. And it's because of Nick Saban. If he doesn't give me a shot, if he doesn't give me an opportunity to try to influence and give back to these young student athletes who were in exactly the same place I was 25 years ago, none of it would be possible for me.
That was 6 years ago, but can you remember, what did he say to you on that call? I mean, what did that feel like to you to get a call from Nick Saban?
Well, it was from Ellis Ponder, who's the right hand of the king, I call him. He's the hand of the king of Nick Saban. And any picture you see of like Coach Saban up on a chair trying to talk to the team in the locker room, there's this guy down below him, like making sure Nick doesn't fall. That's Ellis. Ellis is the one that reached out, set everything up. And then when you get there, Ellis brings you in to the sanctuary, which is Nick Saban's office. And you have what is normally about 15 minutes to converse. He wants to talk to you about what values he wants shared and talked to about with his team. We ended up spending like 45 minutes together. I walked out. Ellis looks at me in shock. And I go, what? He's like, what the hell did you guys talk about for 45 minutes? And I go, well, I don't know. We just talked about family, and we just talked about everything. He's like, and what was so funny? I never heard him laugh. I never heard him laugh so much in my life. And I said, well, that made me feel pretty good. I made Nick Saban laugh a bunch. And then I must have done a good enough job, because he wrote a pretty great referral letter. And before I knew it, I was speaking all over the country, a ton in the SEC because of him. And every year, and there's a leaf kick now to it. There's a leaf bump, as we call it. Last few years, I was at Missouri, Florida State, Kansas. Okay, so I'm just telling you, coaches out there, the leaf bump will get you going every fall.
Are you saying that newly minted head coach here at San Diego State, Sean Lewis, should be giving you a call?
Of course. I'd love to come back to San Diego and talk to some Aztecs. I want to see that new stadium right on all the rubble of Qualcomm right there. That'd be a lot of fun.
Have we the seismic impact of Nick Saban's retirement, right? Obviously, it affected Washington, it affected Arizona, it affected Alabama. I mean, we haven't seen anything like this, like the matriculation from him retiring in college football. Is this something to be expected down the road, or are we going to see like an adjustment? Are there going to be transfer rules that come into place now to stop something like this max exodus that we've seen from an Alabama and a Washington because of what Nick Saban did in retiring?
No, I think this is, I mean, whatever Congress wants to talk about and do. I mean, we know what Congress can't get anything done. Maybe football may become the only thing that's bipartisan that we'll ever have in our lifetime now, JR. But I just think this is what college football is and what it's become. And I think it's a big reason why Nick Saban isn't going to be a part of it anymore. And frankly, it's a sad thing. It's a disappointing thing to not have Nick Saban a part of college football. But I'm also that of the mindset, I did not watch college football this year, right? I'm not going to watch college football next year. When they go to 12-team playoff, I'm going to be all over it. 2 years from now, when the media rights deal runs out and all of a sudden there's a National Collegiate Football League that the NCAA doesn't control, and there's a czar that runs it and a media rights deal that is bonkers big, I'm still going to watch that. I'm going to watch college football regardless. It just sucks that like the guy that gets recruited and gets there and you follow him for 5 years, and when he gets a shot as a fifth-year senior, you're just like, wow, what a cool story. I mean, when I decided to go to college, I made a decision at 18 that I was going to be a Cougar the rest of my life. Okay, and that just is not going to be the case now. You may end up in 5 different places, chasing that dream and goal. But I'm never going to fault a kid for an opportunity to play college football, because guess what? Every one of you think you're going to play in the NFL, but only 1% of you are, if that. Okay. And it's one of the biggest shockers when I speak to those college football teams. And Nick Saban really liked that about me. Now, when you're speaking to Alabama, it's a much different story when you do this exercise.
That's half the class is going.
Yeah, but when I walk into the room, I say, all right, who wants to play in the NFL? Who expects to play in the NFL? And pretty much everybody's arm is raised. Then I say, 2 of you stand up. And 2 people stand up. And I said, that's how many will make it to the NFL. And I go, now you sit down. And he sits down. And I go, that one right there, out of the whole room, that's the one that's going to be played, that will play longer than what the average length of a career in the NFL, which is 2.8 years is. And it's shocking. Now, when you do it at Alabama, everybody kind of looks around and goes, this guy's full of, whatever. Right. But in most places, that's the case, and the understanding of that. And so if you have an opportunity to go someplace else in college for a chance to play, to be a starting quarterback, to be a starting wide receiver, something like that, I'm never going to fault the player for doing it. And the fact that he can get paid for it now with name, image, and likeness. I would have liked to seen some restraints there, but the NCAA punted on that when they lost at the Supreme Court. They had a plan in place. I mean, they had a board in place to kind of look over what NIL would look like. But once they lost the thing, the NCAA disbanded the committee and just said, hey, they want the Wild West, they can have the Wild West. So, this is just as much on the NCAA as it is on anybody else.
Would 18-year-old Ryan Leaf have jumped in the transfer portal if you could have?
You bet I would have. And okay. I had a chance to. I got in a fight with some upperclassmen in the weight room in between my freshman and sophomore years. And I remember walking in to Mike Price's office, and he was talking with the athletic director. And I walked into that room and I said, I'm out of here. I'm done. And you don't have to do that at all. You don't have to talk to a coach. You don't have to talk to anybody. You walk into the compliance office and you simply say, put my name in the transfer portal. That's how you do it now. And if that existed at the time, I would have never went through that adversity. I would have not come out the other side, and I would not have done the greatest thing that I've ever done on the football field, and that's go to a Rose Bowl with Washington State. And the fact that I'm a Cougar and I'm a Hall of Famer there, I think speaks volumes to that.
Before we get to the NFL, it is the NFL, but I have one question about a coach, and that's Bill Belichick. The guy has rings. He has a resume. He's so close to Shula's all-time record. But has the game changed where coaches like that, teams don't want to hire coaches like that. Players don't want to play for coaches like that?
Well, I think the ownership has spoken to that. I mean, with Seattle left and Washington left are the only 2 teams. And I think the reason they're holding out is because they're looking for one of the coordinators in these championship games. I think Ben Johnson has a pretty good shot at what that will look like. I think that, you have Coach Glenn there as well in Detroit. Those are guys that are really Mike McDonald in Baltimore. Yeah. I mean, there is a time, right? You would need some old, if there was a place that I thought it would work out and go to is an older owner, Arthur Blank, which of course he interviewed him twice. And then I thought Jerry Jones, if he did something with Mike McCarthy, that he would do something like he did with Bill Parcells in that sense, where he brought Parcells down at the end of that, and maybe he does with Bill Belichick to see if something changes. But I think there's a referendum that is being spoken to everybody out there that, their time is over. They were great. They were some of the greatest to ever done it, but their time is over. And those records that Don Shula and Bill Belichick have, those ones are never going to be broken, because there's just not going to be coaches in those positions long enough to win enough games, I think, to beat those types of records.
So are you not surprised that Bill Belichick is without a home right now, this deep into the coaching carousel?
I'm a bit surprised simply because of what a genius he is. But I do think that what's going to be laid at his feet is the association with Tom Brady. Now, I don't think Tom Brady is Tom Brady without Bill Belichick, and I don't think Bill Belichick is Bill Belichick without Tom Brady, okay? I think they needed each other to be great. But without one another, without the skills of the other, one certainly could have been successful in this league, and that was showcased with Tom Brady rather than it was with Bill Belichick. His unwillingness to modulate any bit of what he does with the coaching staff. The fact that he had the hubris to place defensive coordinators in the offensive coordinator position, to coach a second-year quarterback who had a heck of a rookie year, really, and then just totally bring him into a regression to a place now where I don't know if Mac Jones will get a true chance again in this league, which is completely unfortunate, because I think he had a lot going for him, and it's not going to be looked at lightly when he has an opportunity if he does go anywhere else.
When it comes to the matchups this week, and I think the home team is 8-2 in the playoffs through the first 2 rounds. Can you make a good case, Ryan, for either the Ryans, for the Ryans, the Detroit Ryans, for the Lions or the Chiefs winning on Sunday?
I called the Christmas Day massacre there at Arrowhead, where the Raiders came in and just dismantled the Chiefs, and everybody got on their high horse and talked about how the Chiefs were not the Chiefs anymore, and Kelsey is lost, and and all the things, and I had to remind everybody that no one, I don't care where they see him, no one wants to see or should want to see the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, because that's where they make their money. That's where they eat. That is where Patrick Mahomes has ended all 6 of his seasons as a starting quarterback, whether that was in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. So that's all he knows. Now, hey, he could get beat. Joe Burrow's beat him. Tom Brady's beat him. Okay. Lamar Jackson is in that echelon, right? He could win. It's at home. He's got a great team. So, but it would not surprise me one bit if the Kansas City Chiefs found a way to win this football game. Andy Reid is a genius. The receivers caught the football last week. They caught it. MSV caught the football. Everybody did. And they made Patrick Mahomes and this team look really good. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. I think Baltimore wins. But like I said, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm more looking at the total and all this and hoping for some fireworks and making it a little bit high scoring game. It depends on the weather. Weather could be a little shaky with some kind of sleety, rainy type of atmosphere.
The quarterback either gets all the credit or all the blame. That there's no in between when it comes to results in the playoffs. When it comes to the 49ers and the Lions, which quarterback do you trust just based on how they played down the stretch?
Everybody's going to look at what Brock Purdy looked like a week ago, and I'm more of the data-driven, bigger picture thing. He's been exceptional. He's been elite in this. The only reason, and I want you to, and for all the people out there that want to, make the comparison as a game manager and what Kyle Shanahan brings to the table, I'm going to tell you what, this San Francisco 49ers team is exactly like the 80s and 90s versions, right? Like Bill Walsh was the innovator of the West Coast offense, which was a scheme like no other that would make everybody around them successful. And you have Joe Montana, and then you had Roger Craig, which I think is, Roger Craig's the Christian McCaffrey before Christian McCaffrey. The original Roger Craig is catching the ball, running the ball, right? You had Brent Jones, you had Dwight Clark at tight end, George Kittle, okay? Then you had a guy by the name of John Taylor and Jerry Rice and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. And I can guarantee right now, neither one of them, for how generational people want to call them, are not Jerry Rice, okay? So you're telling me that Joe Montana is a system quarterback then. If that's what you're saying about Brock Purdy, you have to say that about Joe Montana and Steve Young. And no one's going to do that. But it's exactly the same thing. The quarterback is a facilitator. Those players, great. And they make him great. But don't come at me with this nonsense that Brock Purdy is not a guy that should have been looked at as an MVP candidate this year. That's a bunch of BS. And I'm done arguing that point of view to anybody. If anybody tries to bring it to me now, I just look at them and tell them they're an idiot. And that's just it. That's the conversation over. You're an idiot. You've made it very clear to me, and I don't want to talk to an idiot anymore. As for Jared Goff, this is the most legacy changing and defining situation for a quarterback out of the 4 left. Patrick Mahomes has been there. It's old hat, people would say. Right. If Lamar goes, they'd this is where he's supposed to get to, but I do think Lamar has another chance to do that. Now, I don't want to dismiss the idea of it not being his only chance moving forward. He's got to make the most of it, but I do think he's a guy that will get another chance. If Brock Purdy does it, they're going to lay at his feet that it's Mr. Irrelevant and that it's a scheme and it's Kyle Shanahan. It will not be legacy changing for him, though it should be. It will be for Jared Goff. So
what you're saying, it doesn't matter what Brock Purdy does in this game. He can't win over his critics.
No.
Period.
No, he can't.
But why are people who did we have on the other day, Marty, who said we had Damon Bruce on from Bay Area, right? Voice of the Bay Area. And he said, I don't understand why people are so critical and doubling and tripling, quadrupling down on the Brock Purdy slander. I think it's because most people at the onset said this guy wasn't going to be anything, and they refused to admit that they were wrong. Is that how you feel?
Yeah. I mean, everybody in that league, people still come out of the woodwork and try to defend me. No, I had it right. He was super talented. I just didn't know he was such a mess in the brain. That mentality, they'll fight tooth and nail to their grade on a quarterback was the right grade, and the right grade for Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. And the fact that he's having success is because of everything around him. He is just a game manager, facilitator, whatever the hell it is. Like, Joe Montana was a game manager. Okay. He was in the San Francisco 49ers. He won 4 Super Bowls with those great he was the 3rd round pick, right? In the eyes of most people, he was not a top caliber guy. Like, let's say John Elway, who was picked, 1st overall. So that's a big reason why. And I think they're idiots who keep doing it.
All right, my headline for today's interview is Joe Montana was a game manager. According to Riley, that's where it's going to go. Hey, Brian, before we let you go though, can you explain to me now? I understand the NFL history. I can understand why you're a terrific broadcaster.
College basketball.
You jump on the radio. Explain to me how you are an analyst for college basketball. How that happened on a national scale.
Well, a lot of people don't remember or don't know that I played basketball at Washington State as well as football. I mean, it was imperative when I was recruited that I would talk to every basketball coach when I went on my recruiting trips.
You were in a dunk contest, right?
I was in many dunk contests. I could absolutely fly, right? I broke backboards. Dude.
Yeah, you shattered a backboard.
Yeah, I shattered backboards. I won dunk contests. I was the Michael Jordan of the white boys from Montana. That's just how it was. But I loved basketball. It was my favorite thing in the world. I wanted to be a basketball player. I went up against the elite in the Pac-12, Pac-10 at the time, right? It was the 1995 UCLA Bruins with J.R. Henderson and the O'Bannon brothers and Toby Bailey and Tyus Edney and all those guys. And I found out pretty quick that I was not going to be a professional basketball player. But what I did do and know, as I know the game of basketball and I love the game of basketball, I think I had become disenchanted with what the game had become 25 years later. Okay. And so my response to that was, maybe if I talked to my boss about jumping in the analyst chair, there would be a revitalization for me in basketball. And it was exactly. I sat down in the seat at Fordham University for my first call, and I was immediately transported back to my youth of what basketball was. It wasn't the flashy nature of what it had become and the, just heave it from wherever. There was defense being played. There was mind games with zone and man-to-man defense and how you went about things, rebounding, playing defense, all the things that go into great basketball. And it was, and I did, and I loved it. I killed it. My boss heard it, and now I'm going to get an opportunity. Also, I wanted to work in the spring. I hated when the fact that football was over, that I was like, I was done, when you're a father of a newborn, nights in a hotel somewhere else where you can get, 8 hours of sleep is a positive thing. Don't let my wife hear this interview either, by the way. So yeah, and I have a great boss. Howie Denneroff at Westwood One.
Awesome.
Is an unbelievable boss, and he's come to trust me, and he knows that. And I'll tell you this, right? The men and women who work in the talent offices at all these networks, here at PointsBet and Fanatics, at SiriusXM, at Westwood One, at ESPN, everywhere, right? They're good at their jobs. They're not going to put you on air if you're going to embarrass them, if they're going to make you look like a fool. And somebody who's carrying 7-time convicted felon baggage with him wherever he goes better be really good at what he's doing. Or otherwise, why are you going to give him the opportunity? Why would they do that? I mean, you have so many other candidates that can do it. They were just sitting around one night and they're like, you know what? Who could use a leg up? Ryan Leaf. Let's do that for him. So I don't buy that at all. I think that I've been supported by many. I've been taught the job well. I've had great mentors who have brought me along, and I have great producers, in particular the ones here on this show, in the studio that you guys are viewing me on right now. Jonathan Rifkin was a producer of mine even when we tried to start our own show. So a ton of people have supported me. A ton of people have helped me. And I'm not going to let them down when I'm given the opportunity. And the fact that I get to call college basketball now in the spring makes it pretty cool. So
everything's well deserved. One more thing, Marty, before we get out of here. You're a newly minted girl dad. How's that going?
It's going great. I mean, she's got my heart already. I mean, she wakes me up every morning at 3 a.m. and keeps me up from like 3 to 5. And I'm not even mad at her. I'm not mad at her at all. And she's a happy baby. My wife and I, if we've done anything right in our lives, we make great kids, and that may be the coolest thing in the whole world. I got a 6-year-old boy and now a little 8-week-old girl,
MacGyver.
And they are
MacGyver
like,
and Claiborne.
Yeah, MacGyver and Bo. MacGyver nicknamed her Bo because those are the two letters he's learning letters in kindergarten right now, and he could really tell B and O, and so he's nicknamed her Bo, and we've caught on to that, and we like that too. So yeah, we're excited. I'm incredibly blessed and grateful, and I cannot believe what this life continues to give me after everything that I put it through. So I might be the luckiest guy on the planet, to be honest with you. So you could, next time you see me, somebody rub me for luck, and it might work well. But ask me first. Consent.
You're trying to steal Jim Harbaugh's line. Who's got it better than us? Right?
Who's got it better than us?
Right?
Me and Jim, Harbaugh's and Leafs. Let's go.
Thanks, Ryan. Great to see you. Great catching up. The best to your honor and your family, and we'll do this again. Take care.
You bet, guys. Good to see you too. Thanks.
All right, that was Ryan Leaf, longtime friend of the show. I know one of your mentors, Jay Riff. So I really enjoyed that conversation. I'm so happy for his broadcasting career and just really what he's accomplishing in life, which is so much more important than what you do on the field. We have one segment left. All the pressure on the world on you to come up with the right theme song, the best sitcom. All I'm saying, if it's not Golden Girls, we're done. You're listening to Marty Caswell, Jonathan Rifkin on San Diego Sports 760.